Right, so we are back on the Tefilah trail, and last week we spoke about Rafa'enu, health, healing. What did they call it in the thing? What did they translate the title of the Beracha of Rafa'enu? Probably healing or something.
Health and healing.
Health and healing, yeah, okay. So the next one is called, okay, prosperity. Prosperity. Can we just have a look at your Siddur for a second? In the Eretz Yisrael, it is called, what's it called? Birkat shanim. Thank you. Birkat shanim, which does not mean prosperity. What does Birkat shanim mean?
Yes.
A blessing of the years. Okay, now, what's it all about? Well, it's about prosperity. That's a bit of a clue, really, since Rabbi Sachs describes it as prosperity, but it doesn't mean that literally. So we need to actually see how we arrive at the conclusion, which we now know because of the beginning of the Beracha, that it is prosperity. Now, thank you. Now, what we've found with all the other brachot so far is that it's been based on some kind of scriptural thing. Like last week, it was based on, anyone remember? Rafa'enu was based on
Miriam.
Not Miriam, no.
I wasn't here.
Yirmiyahu. It was in Yirmiyahu. Yeah, the quote. So remember, he said Rafa'eni va'erafe, yeah, Rafa'enu va'erafe. So each of the brachot till now has been either strongly, like that one, or less strongly but loosely connected to a scriptural source. So, bless you. So the question is, can we find a scriptural support or a source where this bracha might have been taken from? If you thought that last week's one was difficult, this week's one's even more difficult because, first of all, it's a very, very tenuous link, really. And secondly, it's a link to a prophet which probably even Hannah hasn't learnt. I'm guessing on that, but I'm thinking about it. Ruby would know where it was, of course, but he's not here. So, and it is the prophet Yoel. Have you learnt Yoel, Hannah? No. Okay.
We started prayer,
okay.
So we will.
So you will. Very good. Who are you learning Treasar with? Oh, with Shelley. Good. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Right. Well, when you get to Yoel, Barbara, you'll be well up because you'll know at least a few psukim. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the psukim in the prophet Joel. I'm going to try and get it up on the screen. Hang on, give me a sec to try and get it up on the screen for you. Hang on, Yoel. Yeah, we're not too worried about Chometz right now. We've got through Purim yet. It's chapter 2 of Yoel. Now, chapter 2 of Yoel, let me just put that up on the screen. Share screen. There we go. Right. So the Yoel, the chapter 2 of Yoel. Anybody have any idea what the chapter 2 of Yoel is talking about? It's what? No. Okay, so okay. So I'm going to translate. I'm going to show you the translation here. We are down the page, actually, on page on verse 21. Okay, and we're talking over here. It says here, Al tir'i adama. Do not fear, Adama, the land. Okay. We are in this bracha here, but I'm reading from Yoel, Goldie. Okay, I'm reading from Yoel. So Al Tiri Adama, do not fear earth. Adama is earth. So you can see already now there's beginning to be a connection, because what is our bracha about? Which really we should translate our bracha first, shouldn't we? Before we go to Yoel, sorry. Before we go, I'm jumping the gun. Before we go to Yoel, hang on a sec, Hannah. Let's just read our bracha. Okay. Let me borrow your siddur if I can, please, Paul. Thank you. So our bracha says like this: Barech Aleinu. Bless us. This is a direct request to God. Bless us. Who are we asking? Adonai Aleinu. Okay, let's get that out of the way straight away. Okay, bless us, or for us, actually. Bless for us, et hashana hazot. This year, ve'et kol minei tevu'ata, and all minei, all the types, tevu'ata, its crops. Well, now that's a bit of a funny expression. Since when does time have crops?
I'm still with the title to the bracha.
Birkat shanim, the blessing of the years.
The article translated as year of prosperity, and then afterwards it says you only say it between Chol Moed Pesach through Mincha of December.
No, that's for Tain. That's for Tain bracha of a Tain Talu Matali bracha.
I haven't Birkat shanim.
Yeah, you don't. What you're saying? You don't say that bracha. It's the only the bit in the middle.
Blessing is recite. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just go.
All plants have time, Johnny, don't they? All plants have different times for the harvest.
Yes, but think about the language here. It's strange.
Yes.
We know what it means because we know that it means prosperity. But listen to the language is strange. Bless for us this year and its produce. The produce belongs to the ground. Okay, so that's clearly the answer. L'tova, we want it blessing for the good. Can you have a blessing for the bad? Yeah, you can. You can. You can have so much blessing that it's no good. Too much of anything, Philip. Too much of anything is no good. So we're asking for to bless this year and its produce, and then depending on what part of the year you are, v'tein beracha, and give a bracha, or v'tein tal umatar livracha, give dew and rain as a bracha in winter. Al panei ha'adama, on the face of the earth. There's our first connection now with Yoel. Okay, Adama, I've already mentioned that before. V'sabeinu, satisfy us. Where do we see that word sabeinu? What's the root of that? Invention, that's right. Ve'achalta, you shall eat. V'savata, and you shall be satisfied. And then what? Uberachta, and you shall bless. So there's clearly a connection, is there not, between being satisfied and being blessed, or doing the blessing. Okay.
We're talking about an agrarian society.
We are.
That's why possibly it seems strange to us.
Yes.
We're very far removed from
Correct.
the earth.
Correct. Uvarech shenatenu, and bless our years. Ha shanim hatovot, like the good years. So bless us, bless our years, so they should be like the good years. Baruch atah Hashem. This is the chatima. This is the conclusion. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, mevarech hashanim, who blesses the years. Now we are asking for prosperity here, and we don't think about how we say this bracha, because if we did think about it, I think if you or I was writing this bracha about prosperity, even in an agricultural society, we would talk about blessing the land, not necessarily blessing the years. It's a strange expression. We don't think it's strange because we're so used to it. But if you stop and think about it with fresh eyes, it's an odd thing to do, to ask for blessing of the years.
You need the rain in the right season, not the wrong
You
season.
do, and you're explaining why that works, but it's not lechatchila. It's not how you would do it lechatchila.
No.
Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of a year.
But what do you say? You bless the year. You wish people a good year.
Yeah, because that's the beginning of the year. You're
Johnny,
saying this bracha every day.
Hi, is it because it's
3 times
seasonal?
a day.
It's because
Say
it's
that again,
seasonal.
Jeff.
No, it's because it's all to do with the seasons.
Yes, it is all to do with the seasons. But again, what I'm trying to get through is what we're all doing, and I do it as well, is we are giving the answer to the question. But what we haven't done is ask the question. The question is, why is this bracha about the years and not about the land itself? Because you would say, and one of the strange things about the Amidah, the Chat Esrei, that in the 19 brachot of the Amidah, there is no bracha about Eretz Yisrael. We have a bracha about Yerushalayim. We do not have a bracha about Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Ever thought about that? Don't think that's a bit odd? And of course, this bracha, huh?
Maybe they were taking
No, that's not Eretz Yisrael. That's not Eretz Yisrael.
They were taking it for granted.
Might have been that.
Maybe they were taking Israel for granted because they weren't here.
Well, they weren't here.
They were.
That's the point. That's part of the point.
Depending on other things. Eretz Yisrael, we're often told that if we don't behave correctly in a social manner, we'll be thrown out of here.
When was this written? When was the Shemonah Esrei written? After the destruction of the temple.
Was it after destruction?
So-
They would have talked.
So no, because they're not there. So what I'm saying to you is, I'm trying to suggest to you that this bracha of Hashanim really is the bracha for Eretz Yisrael, because it's the tevuata. Okay. Now there's 2 different ways of reading this. Now I've got here in my, not in my, actually in Paul's Stinger's prayer book, et culminate tevuata, and all of its things, v'sabeinu mituvecha, and satisfy us from or with your goodness. There is another version, and I'm not sure what's in yours. Let me a second, Goldie, please. Yes, Goldie has the Nusach Sfarad, Rinat Yisrael, and they do not say v'sabeinu mituvecha. They say, correct, they say v'sabeinu mituva with a mapik hey. It's her, literally, her, meaning the land. Thank you very much. So if that's v'sabeinu mituva from her, meaning the land, then surely this is the bracha of the land. Again, makes my question stronger. Why is this called Mavarech shanim and not Mavarech Haaretz or whatever? Mavarech Eretz Yisrael. It's a bracha which is specifically for Eretz Yisrael, because you've all said it. It's an agricultural bracha, and we were an agricultural people in Eretz Yisrael. Yes, Philip.
Talking about Rinat Yisrael,
I know you don't like Rinat Yisrael, but it's not just Rinat Yisrael. It's not just Rinat Yisrael. All of Nusach Sfarad have Stabenu Mituva. Yeah.
God's girl says, satisfy us from its bounty, Johnny.
So what did you say, Johnny?
God's girl says, and satisfy us from its bounty, ITS, its bounty.
Its bounty. Yeah, that's because in English, in English, we don't tend to give inanimate objects feminine or masculine pronoun. We do sometimes. We call ships her, but we generally call ships it, and we generally call the land it. Although we do sometimes call it as a feminine, don't we? But generally speaking, in English, we call it it. So it's its bounty, but it means the land. So the question is, why is this bracha about the years, and why is it not explicitly about Eretz Yisrael when it is clearly implicitly about Eretz Yisrael? Yes, Frank.
Is it an extension of effectively the source that we're saying in the Shemonah, where we're talking about the Natzatim, and then we carry on talking about the crops.
Okay, it is exactly the same. Yes.
Except Shemonah refers to seasons, and here it's collective. You talk about the year.
Okay. The answer to the question is, as we've all said, it is agricultural and it is seasons, and the year is, of course, the cycle of growth. And as Hannah said at the beginning of the year, we pray for prosperity for the whole of the year. But I'm still trying to connect the pasuk to something. Now, I'm trying to connect the bracha to a pasuk. And what I'm going to do now is to show you in Yoel why I think they've used shanim as opposed to haaretz. Because all of these brachot are strongly or loosely based on the Tanakh. Now, for us, we just need to take a step back, because for all of us, every single one of us, Tefilah is much more familiar to us than Tanakh. Right? We know davening better than we know Tanakh. Proof: none of us have learnt Yoel, right? Yet. Okay? So, but we've all davened the Amidah 3 times a day for, X number of years. So we are more familiar with that. But when they wrote the prayers, just stop and think for a minute. When they wrote the prayers, they were writing them for a people who were familiar with Tanakh. This was what they had. They only had Tanakh. When these Tefillot were written, that's what they had. That's what they based their whole Judaism was based on, Tanakh, right? Even here today, Israelis know Tanakh. Even secular Israelis, they know Tanakh far, far better than most Haredi or Dati Leumi yeshiva bochurim. They know the Tanakh very, very well
because they learn the Tanakh
as part of history. People like David Ben Gurion, Menachem Begin. They lived it. It was in their DNA.
But Menachem Begin was Filoni.
No, but Ben Gurion was. Okay, so that's why it's important to try and find the connection, because when the Anshe Knesset Agdola wrote these tefillot, that's what they had in mind. Now, if we want to get the most out of our tefillot, it helps us to know where they were coming from. So I found it very interesting that the Rafa'enu prayer was such a very, very obvious copy of the pasuk in Yirmiyahu. Now, this is not so obvious in Yoel. Let's just go to Yoel. Al tir'i adama, have no fear, O land. This is God through Joel talking to the land. Gili, rejoice. Gili, rejoice. Gila. You should know that. Gili, rejoice. Usmachi. Another word for rejoice. Be glad, be happy. Jubilate, it says here, jubilate. Ki higdil Adonai la'asot, because Hashem has performed great things. Al tiru behemot sadai, do not fear beasts of the field. Ki dashu naot midbar, for the dwelling places of the wilderness have become covered with grass. Another metaphor for growth and prosperity. Ki eitz nasa pirio, for the trees have borne their fruit. Again, another expression of produce being made from the land. Te'ena v'gefen natnu chelam. The fig tree and the vine have given forth chelam, same word as chayil, Chayal, soldier. It's given through Mechayil el Chayil, strength. So the fig and the vine have given their strength. This is about God blessing the actual land. Okay, blessing the land that it should bring its fruit. Now, next pasuk, Uvenei Tzion, and the children of Zion, Gilu, they will rejoice. V'simchu b'Hashem, and they will jubilate with Hashem, Elokeichem, your God. Ki natan lachem et hamoreh litzdaka, for he gave you the teacher for justification. Don't really know what that means. V'yored lachem geshem moreh umalkosh barishon. Now, geshem moreh umalkosh. What's yoreh umalkosh?
Rain.
What we're having now is malkosh. Malkosh. No, the last rains. March.
We don't know what yet.
Yes, it's this is called malkosh. I remember when we were on Tiul.
To wait and see.
Now we know what's going to happen. No, it's it is correct. And where did they get it from? From the Torah. Okay, so yeah, but so you've got this here about the rains, and of course our bracha says v'tein tal umata livracha in the winter, talks about rain, and then what happens if you have all of that rain in its time? Same thing in the Shema. Frank's absolutely right. What does the Shema say? If you do all those things, I'll give you rain in its season. And then what? Just before that. V'yasafta deganecha. What does that mean? You will gather in your corn. V'yasafta deganecha tiroshcha. Tirosh, what's tirosh? Your grapes, yeah, tiroshcha. V'yitzharecha. No, yitzhar. What's yitzhar? Oil. From yitzarecha means your oil, means from olives. So here, our next pasuk, verse 24 on the screen for the Zoomers. Umalu hagranot. By the way, Rav Yuval's name.
Yeah.
Granot. Umalu hagranot. What's granot?
The storehouse.
Granaries, storehouses, yeah. Umalu. They'll be filled. The storehouses will be filled with what? Bar. Grain. That's right. Veheshiku hayekavim. What's yekev? Hayekev. Apart from the restaurant down in the square there. Yekev is it's a winery. It's not a vineyard. Vineyard is a kerem.
Yeah.
As in kerem b'yavne.
Yeah.
Okay. Yekev is a winery, it's actually also the vat that you put the wine is also called a yekev. Hayekavim tirosh veyitzhar. Okay, these vats will be filled with tirosh, wine, grape juices, veyitzhar, and oil. Okay, same as the Shema. Okay. So I'm reading here from Yoel. Okay, I'm reading from Yoel. Wait, yes, Yoel was one of the later prophets. So time of the first temple. I think towards the end of the first temple. I think. Next pasuk. This is the one which is the next two. The next two or three are the important ones for our bracha. V'shilamti lachem et hashanim. And I will shilamti, pay, I will repay, says God. I will repay to you et hashanim, for the years, asher achal ha'arbeh hayelek v'hachasil v'hagazam. Okay? Arbeh, you know what that is? Locusts. Now the other words I said, yelek v'hachasil v'hagazam, are different types of locusts, apparently. So he translates it here as, I will repay you for the years that the increasing locust, the nibbling locust, the finishing locust, and the shearing locust have devoured my great army which I have sent against you. So it's like God is saying, all those years that you didn't have proper produce because as I sent the locusts to eat up all your produce, I'm going to repay you for that. You're going to get fantastic produce. Anybody ever seen? It's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever seen on one of these National Geographical things. There was a thing on locusts, and they showed a massive acres and acres of fields one day, and within 24 hours, this swarm of locusts had come and completely decimated the entire lot. It was just, you wouldn't have believed it if you hadn't seen it, and it wasn't David Attenborough narrating it. You won't believe it. You'd say it was Photoshop.
There was,
It was unbelievable.
a few years ago, there was a swarm of locusts in the south of Israel.
Yeah.
I had one on my balcony.
Yeah, well, this is not talking about one here.
No, but there was a real swarm. And
So he says, Yoel says, or God says through Yoel, I'm going to give you back. I'm going to repay you for all those times when it was bad. Next pasuk, you'll recognize this. Ve'achaltem, achol v'savoa. You'll eat and you'll be satisfied. And then what will you do? Not quite, but you're right. Vehilaltem, and you will praise et shem Adonai Elohechem, the name of Hashem your God, Asher asai mechem lahafli, who has done such wonderful things. Velo yevoshu ami liolam. My people will not be ashamed ever forevermore. So he's talking about here a time when we will come back to the land after the land has been what? Desert, decimated and desolate. We will come back to the land. This is through Yoel. I'm not making this up. I'm just reading it to you. We will come back to the land, and in not so many words, the desert will bloom. And we will get repaid, says God, for all the years that it was desolate. And we'll have bursting full of tirosh.
Wars also, yeah.
Not finished yet.
Yeah.
And then the last pasuk I want to show you, the last pasuk of the chapter, listen to this. Vidatem, and you will know, ki bekerev Yisrael ani, I am amongst you, the people of Israel. Bekerev Yisrael, I am in the midst of Israel. Now, does that mean Eretz Yisrael? Does it mean Am Yisrael? Don't know. Ani va'ani ki bekerev Yisrael ani. I am in the midst of Israel. Va'ani Hashem Elokeichem. I am Hashem your God. Ve'enod. And there is no other. Ve'lo yevoshi ami li'olam. He repeats then, and my people shall never be ashamed. These psukim from Yoel, which, as Frank quite rightly says, mirrors the Shema, is a connection to our Beracha. Okay? Now, our Beracha here, I say, this Beracha is really a Beracha about Eretz Yisrael. And this end bit of Yoel tells us that it's about Eretz Yisrael. Begs the question, why is it called Beracha shanim? Now, the part of the reason, I think, maybe even the main reason, is that we were in exile. And if we have a Beracha, which specifically speaks directly about Eretz Yisrael, and for 2,000 years, we're not there. We're not going to be able to relate to that Beracha. And so...
We had locusts when we were in exile as well. And in Egypt...
We did have locusts in Egypt, you're right, but they were on our side, Johnny. Those were
but they were
our locusts.
No, one of the plagues, so they destroyed all the produce.
No, they didn't destroy our stuff. They were on our side, those locusts.
Okay.
So I think that this Beracha is about Eretz Yisrael, primarily, but it is couched in a way that we in Galut, where we were until 1948, could, well, probably earlier than that, until the first Yishuv, could relate to it. And it means prosperity. Because most of the time when we were in exile, we were not an agricultural people. We were business people.
We were money lenders.
We were money lenders. We were innkeepers. And the reason for that, by the way, is there was lots of things we weren't allowed to do. We weren't allowed to be bankers. We weren't allowed to be professionals.
We weren't allowed to own land.
No, we weren't allowed to have. Correct. We weren't allowed to own our own land. That's absolutely right, Hannah. So we were not an agricultural society, and so therefore we had the rabbis had to make a bracha which was relevant to us, and by doing it this way, and they've done a good job because we all said, what does this mean? Prosperity. And when I daven in the morning and I say this bracha of Beracha shanim, I'm not talking about the kumquats on my tree in the garden, although it's very nice that we've got a lot of them. I'm talking about my parnasa. I'm praying that whatever it is that I do for my parnasa, whether it be a profession or whether it be, whatever it is, that whatever your job is, whatever your work is, whether you work on the land or you work in a shop or whatever it is that you do, or you're a taxi driver or you sell cloth or whatever it is that you do, or even if you're a pharmacist, right? Talking about all the people who are on Zoom, right? Then we're praying for our prosperity through whatever it means we have through our parnasa, and we can relate to it on this cycle because of what Hannah said, and that is because of Unatana Tokef. What do we read in Unatana Tokef? Miyayani umiyayasher. Who will become poor and who will become rich? And we know, don't we, that there's a very well-known idea that on Rosh Hashanah, Kadosh Baruch Hu works out how much we're gonna make for the year, and that's decided. And that's the time. And Beracha shanim is we're asking for and we say it very clearly. We say Barech Leinu et Hashana Hazot b'Kol bless for us like the good years, right? Whatever good year I had last year or the year before, whenever it was, I want another one like that. That's what we're asking for. So it's about this cycle. It's really about Eretz Yisrael, in my view, but it's also cleverly couched so that it's not exclusively about Eretz Yisrael. But if we know from, if we see from Yoel, that there is that connection with God being Bekerev Yisrael. And the idea for us, if we think about what's gone on in Yoel here, and we think about that, I didn't need to say it. You all said it. We've made the desert blue. I didn't do anything for it. Most of us probably didn't actually. I do. Goldie's busy doing all sorts of things in the fields now, aren't you?
We were right by the glass of water on Thursday.
Yeah, we all bought trees. Yes, we bought trees and we planted trees. So we as a people have made the desert blue, and that, of course, is. Let me finish the sentence, Hannah. That I was about to say is, of course, only with the assistance of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And if you look at and the Thai workers, yeah, Kodesh and Goldie,
The Indians.
That's right. Your idea, which we appreciate. If you then, here we're saying, get the land ready for us, the next bracha ties into that thought. Because we're then talking about gathering in the exiles.
Ah, nice. Excellent. Oh, okay. Well, we'll come back to that next week and we'll start with that. Yeah, it does. It does. But just 1 second. We have made the desert blue, of course, with the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what does this last pasuk on the screen here say? And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. And it doesn't say Bekerev Am Yisrael. It doesn't say Bekerev Eretz Yisrael. So it can mean whatever you want it to mean. And I want it to mean that all of those things you shall eat, you shall eat, et Shem Hashem, and you'll praise Hashem, all that stuff. Why? so that you shall know that I am in the midst. If I wasn't Bekerev Yisrael, if I wasn't here, it would still be what Mark Twain described it as in his Innocents Abroad. He described it as the most desolate wasteland of a place that he'd ever been to. And that's what it would remain. And it was. And that's what it would remain without HaKadosh Baruch Hu being Bekerev Yisrael.
Very steady looking. Third chapter.
Well, not on the third chapter. Yeah, that's if you don't behave yourself.
No, it's a precursor.
Yes. One thing. Yeah, Yoel is a I haven't read it all, but it is a prophecy which cyclical prophecy. Okay, so that's where Yoel comes in. Now, the other thing I want to ask you is there's another peculiarity in this bracha, and that is in this bracha of the Amidah. And that's the verb that's used. What verb is used here? Barech, bless us.
Beracha is a command, actually.
It's a request. Yeah, it's ubarech. It's may you bless us. Yeah, well, yeah, not in
classical Hebrew.
Classical Hebrew, barech here it means clearly it can mean an imperative. Yeah, barech, rats. But here it means may you bless us or will you bless us? Okay. Now, correct. It can't be. So I've got a question. Why in this bracha alone, and only in this bracha, do we ask God to bless us with something? Why, when we say atachonein, why do we not say barech aleinu im chokhmah? Bless us with chokhmah. Barech aleinu im refuah shlema. Bless us with a refuah shlema. They'd all fit, wouldn't they? Why just in this bracha do we use that verb of blessed and not in any of the other brachot? No, you're asking. No, it says it at the end because it said it in the beginning. You can't answer the question with the answer. No.
But the others say other things at the end.
Yeah, because it's the essence of the bracha. That's what I'm asking you. Why is the essence of this bracha bless us as opposed to all the others? And one of the answers that is given is that a bracha is something which allows for expansion. Okay, so he says the idea of bracha is the power of growth. Okay, when you bless something, it's a blessing of growth. So, for example, the first bracha that was given to man, which was in the form of a command, actually, what was the first bracha? Pru'uravu, go forth and multiply. Pru, be fruitful, and multiply. Okay. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave that bracha after creation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
If it was an imperative, was it a bracha?
Wow, it's a good question. It is seen as a command.
Yeah.
Pru'uravu,
Yeah.
which is an imperative, as you say, but it was a bracha at the same time. Now, that's the point, because creation, Kadosh Baruch Hu created, and then what? He stopped, right? Shavat.
He left it to man.
Shavat. He stopped. He went on strike. Shvita. Same word. Shavat. Okay. Shavat. He stopped. Kadosh Baruch Hu stopped. And when he stopped, what he had created was finite. Okay. That was it. It was as it was. That was what he'd created. And he stopped creating. Then he gave the ability to mankind and animal kind to then create anew, not ex nihilo, as he did, but to create. And that idea of growth is the idea of bracha. every created object is equal to itself, and it's bound by its limitations. Okay, and it can't contain any more than it was created. However, Kadosh Baruch Hu blessed the animal world with the ability to create new things and new life, particularly new life, reproduction. Okay, and that is the bracha. It's almost as a power of God was instilled in us to a degree. And that's why we were talking last week, if you remember, we went off a bit of a tangent last week about various different forms of treatment for infertility and whether we are playing God and with cloning and all this other things. And remember, I told you that initially IVF was considered to be trafe and all those things. Partly because, and one argument is that we're meddling in God's business. We shouldn't be doing that. But in effect, every act of procreation is doing something which is godlike. And we say, don't we, that there are three partners to creating a human being: the mother, the father, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And without those three partners, it's not actually quite true anymore, because you don't actually need the father anymore. And soon you won't need the mother either. We just have an incubator and a Kadosh Baruch Hu. But anyway, right now it's a three. Yeah, it's right now it's a three-way object, and so this power of growth is the bracha. That is the source of bracha, or no, not the source of bracha. The source of bracha is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The expression of bracha is growth, and there is no more fundamental growth than in the land. Okay, you take this rotten seed from an old fruit that's gone rotten. In fact, just this very night, I ate potatoes which Elisheva had grown from some rotten, moldy potatoes that she chucked into the compost heap, right? Just making it compost. They rooted, and we had them, and they were gorgeous. They were gorgeous. And it's a crazy thing. We've got all over our garden, she's got compost heaps all over the place. She's got barrels of this. There's tomato plants coming out of it and potato plants coming out of it. All from the rock.
Too.
Yeah. But here, of course, the land is more fertile. So, say that again?
And now the next modified is cannot grow things from the seed. You have to buy their new seed.
Okay, that's interesting. So Paul says you can't do it anymore because they're genetically, or some things are genetically modified. I would say, I would question whether that's allowed halachically. I agree. I'm just saying I can see a scenario of somebody saying, well, hang on a minute, that really is messing around. And if you want, you can no longer recreate that from itself. Anyway, the point, we digress. The point about this bracha is it's about the power of growth. It's regeneration. And that regeneration has to come because of the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in the equation. In Yoel, it tells us very clearly that the land will be so fruitful and be so bountiful, ki bekerev Yisrael ani, because I am in Israel. And the word before that is vidatem, and you will know. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? You will know that I am in the land. I'm not sure we've quite got that as a nation, yeah. As some individuals may have, and some individuals may have at certain points, you might recognize the hand of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. But if you think about, it's fascinating, and Rav Kook spoke about this a lot. If you think about what happened in the early years of Zionism, when the first Chalutzim came, who of course were originally religious Jews, and basically jettisoned their religiosity and became secular Jews, and they worked the land.
Just talking about the second Aliyah. What about the first Aliyah? First Aliyah came, settled the land, and were religious.
Yes, that's true. But I'm talking, but it didn't really tofes, did it? The first Aliyah. It didn't really gather momentum until the second Aliyah. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The second Aliyah, I'll stick with the second Aliyah, which was the bigger of the two. A lot of them jettisoned their religiosity and became secular. And in fact, of course, many of the kibbutzim in the early days were not just not religious, they were anti-religious, you know.
No synagogues in the
No, rabbis weren't allowed in, synagogues weren't allowed. They didn't celebrate any, and they, you know, there was not all of them, of course, but many of them were anti-religious. So, and of course, the kibbutzim were the ones that built up the land. So you have this. So I said we've not quite got there yet. That we have all, as a people, recognized that Mevarech shanim is referring us back to Yoel, referring us back even further to the Shema, whereby we recognize Ki b'kerev Yisrael ani, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here, and it's only because he's here in our midst, b'kerev Yisrael, that we are fruitful and we're multiplied. So when we're saying this bracha, it makes perfect sense to use the verb mevarech, to bless, because it's about the power of growth, and it's about recognizing every one of these brachot is recognizing that everything comes from Hashem. When we say Baruch atah Hashem rofei cholei amo Yisrael, we're recognizing that the refuah comes from God, like we spoke about last week. When we say Baruch atah Hashem chonei nadat, we're recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the source of that knowledge and wisdom. But here, it's even more fundamental than that, because the bracha itself is the growth. It is the power. It's the verb of the power of growth, of regeneration. And that's why it uses the expression of shanim, because the shanim are the cycle of the year. It's that regeneration. You start with the spring, everything starts to sprout, it comes to fruition, summer, you harvest in the autumn, winter, everything dies off, and then you start again with the next year with the spring. So it's this cycle, this cyclical nature, and we're blessed in some ways. What we're blessing HaKadosh Baruch Hu for is the cyclical nature of the way the world works.
Different with this. When you're getting Rafa'inu, it's individual. Some people are cured, some people are not cured.
Yeah.
With this and with knowledge. But with this, if you have the right meteorological conditions, everybody benefits. It's much more universal.
Okay. Yes, but it's not universal in as much as there are places where there are droughts and things, aren't there? Oh, here, yes. Okay, so
I like what you just did this.
well, I'm just hang on a sec, Anna. I just need to get my head around what Paul said. Say it again, Paul.
Well, I think Tefilah, it's almost an individual thing, and you have to put in names of individuals. And you either get blessed and healed, or you don't. And you might, and the next person next to you, Daven next to you,
Might not.
Whereas here, if the weather conditions are the former rains, the latter rains in the right times, etc., everybody benefits.
Okay. Yes, that's true. And the point is,
The point is, it's less individual than the other.
okay, just the point that it's less individual. Okay, I grant that. I think that's true. What can we make of that? Hang on a sec, Frank. What can we make? I agree with that. It does appear to be less individual. What can we make of that? What actually can we learn from that? Barech aleinu, Rafa'enu, they're all in the plural, aren't they? So I don't know. It does. Yeah. But let's go away from the agriculture, though. Let's go away from the agriculture, bearing in mind what we said earlier on, that for the vast majority of our history, we've not been agricultural, and that's why they couched it in these terms, perhaps. Then it becomes individual. I can daven for my paranossa, and I might get blessed. Next person next to me might be davening for his paranossa, might not be quite so blessed. So you're right. It definitely, it does. Yeah. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that is the point. That maybe that's the point, Paul, that this bracha is something which can teach us about communal responsibility, and that we're all in it together. Maybe that's a good point. I've not thought of that. But there is definitely something there that says this is definitely more communal than individual. because of what you said. And maybe that's part of the issue here, is that we need to recognize that we are responsible for one another, and all for one for all kind of thing. It's a nice idea. Next bracha, as Frank has pointed out, is about in gathering of the exiles. Yes, Frank.
It struck me neat because it's using the word Beracha at the outset. But I think, just going through while we're talking, this is probably the only bracha that we are the indirect. We're saying, bless for us the land, bless the land for us, so that we're going to have all these things. All the other things, give us knowledge, give us our knowledge, give us this.
Okay, let me just say.
I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but it just seems that it's the
all right.
odd one.
See, let me just say that, because I don't think they'll have heard it on the Zoom and the recording. Frank says that this is a bit indirect. We're asking for the land to be blessed so that we can benefit from it, whereas all the others are more direct. Give us knowledge, heal us. Okay, where are we going with that? Yeah. So
we have to tone it down a bit.
Where are we going with that? So what's really interesting about this is that we're now all thinking about these words, aren't we? And that, in one way, job done. That is what I wanted to achieve with this shiur, is that we actually think about our davening. We don't necessarily have to have any answers. We can have questions. This is an interesting point. No, what can we, like we've just said, with Paul said, this is something which is communal. And we said, well, what can we learn from that? What can we learn from the fact that this is indirect? And I think, and I wonder whether we can learn from that the opposite of Kochi v'yotzim yodi, right? Kochi v'yotzim yodi says, by the power and the might of my hand, I have done all of what I've done through my own efforts. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Beware, because there'll come a time when you will say, Kochi v'yotzim yodi, in the power of my might of my hand, did all this wonderful things. In other words, you won't recognize it's come from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Now, maybe the idea that you've homed in on there is to teach us. And what is this about? It's about prosperity. It's maybe to teach us that the prosperity that we may have is not necessarily because we're the cleverest or the best businessman or whatever it is. It's indirect. Ki b'kerev Yisrael ani. And maybe that's why another connection with Yoel, that maybe it's a bit indirect to teach us that the prosperity that we are asking for comes from an indirect source, not directly from us. That's just on the hoof kind of thing. But it's an interesting observation.
We're not saying that we should. So the word nowhere in this thing, we're giving Hashem blessings every time we say Baruch Hashem. But we're never saying bless us for this, bless us for that, give us blessing. Probably in Birkat, we're saying bless us. But here we're saying bless the land. So
bless the land,
because it's remote. It's the only occasion where it's something else.
I think maybe we can learn from that we need to recognize that the largesse that we have doesn't come direct from us, comes via the blessing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the hands of our work, whether the hands of our work is digging in the fields or whatever, selling diamonds even. Okay, right. Let's just have a look what else we can look at in here. Let's just see. Yes. So one sec. Let me just have a little quick over here. So okay, so it's very interesting what you said about the next bracha, Frank. Let me just read you what Rav Ezra Bick has written about the next bracha and this one together. He says, the bracha does not explicitly mention the land of Israel, talking about our bracha. Although the focus is on land, it does not say precisely which land. Without a doubt, the request is for prosperity in all forms and in all lands as well. Nevertheless, I think there is a hint in the direction of the land of Israel, as is quite clear in the chapter in the prophet of Yoel, on which the bracha is loosely based. This will be especially significant once we realize, as I will claim in the next bracha, that there is no explicit bracha about the land of Israel in the Shemonah Esrei. This should not be surprising if the bracha is about the blessing of God's presence as manifested in the material world. Okay, so again, it's the blessing of the material world, not directly to us, but the material world itself, and especially in the fruitfulness of the land. And of course, this would support the version where we say, "V'sabenu mi tu va," satisfy us with its goodness, as opposed mituvecha, from your goodness. If you say mituvecha, which is the Nusach Ashkenaz version, then your indirectness is diluted a wee bit. Whereas if you use the Nusach Sfard version, v'sabenu mituva, and satisfy us from its goodness, meaning the land's goodness, and we recognize that land's goodness comes from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, you've got your more direct, your indirection.
It's more after.
What does it say in the Nusach Sfard? It says, thank you very much. Ki el tovu meitiv ata u'mavarech Hashem. You are a good and a good God who does good and blesses the years. So it adds in that you are a good God.
Why do you have to say that God is good?
Don't know, but I don't say it anyway. Okay, right. Hannah, you wanted to go back. One second, Johnny. I'll come to you in a sec, Johnny. Hannah was desperate to go back to Rosh Hashanah. Yes.
And before that, Tikkun Tov is also in Mayim Shalosh. Tov u'meitiv v'nodeh lecha al haaretz v'alva.
Yeah. And what does that tell you? What is that bracha about? Me'en Shalosh. It's about the land. So there you go. So it's another combination. It's another, if you like, another parallel which proves that we're talking about Eretz Yisrael, even though it doesn't say it. Now, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah comes from Lashanot.
No, it doesn't mean to change. It means it comes from Shani. It means Lashanot means to go round from the word Shani again, second time around.
Yeah, Hashanah, from the Hashanah.
Hoshanas, no, that's from within ayin. That's from Hoshia.
Oh.
That's to save. That's salvation. That's with an ayin. With an ayin.
Go round and round with them, though.
Yeah, that's our coffers. Yeah.
No, they're Shanas.
In the same way that we asked for a good year at Rosh Hashanah, yeah, this is a blessing to the year. We're asking God to give us for the land, let's say, but a good year. That's why it's called Birkat shanim, Hashanah. Yeah,
Shanim, yeah.
From Lishanot. You know, yeah, the shanim. The same as Chag is called from Mechoga.
Yes, it's the root of the word is sheni, second time around, to go around again. Same with as Mishnah. When you learn the Mishnah, okay, means to learn. Why does it the Mishnah? Because you learn it, you do it over and over again.
The agricultural year is a cycle.
Correct. It's a part of the cycle. That's why the Shana is part of is the same root because of the cycle of the year.
Yeah, so possibly that's why it's called Birkat shanim.
It's called Birkat shanim because it says Mavarech shanim because he's going to bless the years. So we're going. It's a bit of a circular argument. Well, right, I have to go to Johnny now before we finish. Yes,
I've
Johnny.
just sent you a photograph. I don't know if you've got your phone handy.
Let me have a look. I've got WhatsApp web here. Let's see what you've sent me. Hang on. Not wanting to do it. Where's my phone? Under here. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Yes, here it is.
The alternative bracha, which some people say from Pesach and to the end, instead of saying bracha, which is quite interesting, and the translation is different.
Doesn't want to download on my computer.
No.
Let's have a look on the phone. Hang on a sec. Right, so Johnny has shown me a picture here
From Art Scroll, is it, by the way?
from the art scroll. Some congregations substitute
The following passage.
Barachenu for Barech Aleinu. Now there's a bracha here. I've never seen this, but this is what it says in the art scroll. Barachenu Adonai Aleinu. Bless us, Hashem, your God, b'chol ma'aseh yadeinu, with all the work of our hands, uvarech shenatenu, and bless our years, b'talalei ratzon, yes, that's what I'm reading from here, but b'talalei ratzon bracha and dava, with a measure of ratzon, will, blessing, and nadava, gift, utehi achrita, chayim v'sova v'shalom, and let it end, meaning the end of the year, be chayim, life, v'sova, and satisfaction, v'shalom, and peace. Kashtanim atovot livracha, like the good years for a bracha. Ki el tova meitivatam varech hashanim, brochata Hashem varech hashanim. I have never seen that before, but it's interesting. Now we'll maybe have to do some more research into why just one bracha of the whole Shemonah Esrei is different in
It's only from. It's only when instead of saying the same bracha.
Some congregations substitute this bracha from Pesach through to December the 4th.
Yeah.
But the times when we say B'tein bracha,
Yeah.
Nusach Sfard, yeah, Nusach Sfard. So it's in Nusach Sfard,
Yeah.
and you know, so it doesn't count. No, I didn't say that. Okay, right. Time's up. We will have to stop there. Thank you for that, Johnny. Really interesting. I'm going to look into that, Bli Neder, and maybe I'll do a little bit of research, and we'll talk about that beginning of next week's Shiur. And next week is Monday. We should be all right. Shushan Purim. We should be okay, shouldn't we? Yeah, I think we should be okay, unless we're in Yerushalayim. Right. Okay. Well, we'll have to manage without Goldie. Right. Laila Tov, everybody.
Laila Tov.
Thanks, John.
Let me just stop the recording. There we go.